Hi, I'm Rick Cutter with Cloud for Utilities, and today we're in conversation with Matus Marusak, Vice President of SAP. Good morning.
Good morning, Rick.
Appreciate you being here today and spending some time with us. Wanted to jump into a couple of questions here. I'd like to start with how did you find your way to your current career at SAP?
Yeah, thanks, Rick. So I'm the vice president for our mid-market utilities practice. And, I started in utilities back in 2006. I started my career really in working for a partner of SAP called StreamServe. And I was a technical consultant. So I was implementing our document management solution for SAP CIS project. So it's been quite some time. And I've had a number of different roles over the years between value engineering, sales, pre-sales, and I've also spent some time outside of utilities. But honestly, I always wanted to come back into the utilities. It was a drawback, right? To kind of come back. It's such a close-knit community, and the camaraderie is awesome inside of utilities. So I joined SAP about 5.5 years ago in an industry advisory role or industry value advisory role. And about 2 years ago, I became vice president for our mid-sized business. I've always had passion about value that solutions bring to our customers. And with utilities embracing cloud, it is really a pivotal moment for mid-sized utilities. It gives them ability to get the world-class solutions at a fraction of the cost, and really the time to value makes the ROI often a no-brainer. So that's why I'm here.
Well, very, very exciting to have you here, and look forward to learning more about SAP. I've had a few clients in the past that have gone through that value engineering process that SAP does, and I have to admit it's an impressive process, very thorough and valuable to the clients.
Yes.
Matus, tell me more about what do you think makes SAP a leader in the industry?
Yeah, great question, Rick. So, SAP has been around for over 40 years, and utilities industry is one of the first industries that SAP actually defined as its own vertical that needed its own solution. So back in 1988, actually, SAP built its first utility solution called Riva 2, and we had a few customers in Germany deploy it, right? So it's been well over 30 years that we've been servicing the utilities market. We have over 4,000 utilities in like 120 countries using SAP. We have over 1,300 utilities managing over 3 billion utility bills. And over 78% of the top utilities use SAP. So numbers speak for themselves, but it's not just about the numbers. We simply hire the best people in the business, right? As it relates to number one, industry experience and expertise, but also technology people, right? So we invest heavily in R&D year after year after year. And SAP is consistently one of the best places to work by a number of publications like Fortune Magazine, Glassdoor, and so on. So it's really a number of things. And I think, obviously cloud is a big area that we want to talk about. And I think we've done that actually in utilities for quite some time. So when I think of cloud, I have to think of all the solutions that we brought to the utilities customers, years ago, really now. They cover things like human resources, procurement, expenditures. Like there's just a number of different things that we've done over a long period of time. And I think the most important thing really is our ability to deliver. So it may sound cliche, it may sound simple, but we are consistently best in business to be able to deliver our solutions, right? So every implementation has surprises that happens. But if you look at any third-party ranking that ranks ability to deliver in the utility space, SAP is always on top. So I think that speaks for itself.
I have to say, I enjoy some of the marketing things y'all do. When I'm traveling, I'll see XYZ company runs SAP. That was a really good campaign and made good points all over the place. Well, let's talk a little bit more about some recent initiatives I've been hearing about in regards to mid-market. Can you tell us more about that and kind of how you guys got to that plan?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think the last few years we really doubled down on the mid-market focus, right? So we viewed it as an underserved market. So historically, the biggest utilities got the best solutions, right? Which meant on-prem, heavy customizations, but that's no longer the case these days. So we've hired a team, we've tailored our solutions to make sure they fit, and built our partner ecosystem to make sure that we can deliver, as I talked about before. So because of the cloud delivery, mid-sized utilities really can now consume solutions that were only for those large IOUs before. And we see that as an opportunity for us, obviously, but it's almost like our duty that we have to service this market better than we have done in the past. So we're seeing extreme success so far in the mid-size space, and it's not so new anymore. I've been in the role for 2 years now, and we have the team that's really dedicated to it. So we're doing extremely well.
Tell me a little bit more about maybe a recent customer success you guys have had.
Oh boy, so that's a great question, and it's a very timely one actually too. There's so many great stories, but I do have to mention one story that I think just deserves the attention, right? So we just recently we had 3 large utilities across the country go live, literally the same cutover weekend. So if you think of a large CIS go live, we had 3 of them all happening at the same time. So Duke Energy, Southern California Edison, SDG&E, and on top of that, Southwest Gas within 2 weeks going live as well. So just to put that in perspective, what that means, that scale, that's 10% of the US population literally going live on SAP over that period of time. So these deployments were obviously cloud, right? So hybrid cloud, some private components, some public cloud components, everything from core CIS to cloud solution for the CSRs, self-service cloud. So things have changed, right? As we talked about. So all things considered, everything, the deployments and the go lives went extremely well. Not without a hiccup, but of course we were able to put together a team, that hypercare team that really supported our customers. So we had product support, development, center of excellence, professional services, industry experts, and escalation management teams, all on 24/7 during the weekend to make sure everything went smoothly. And really, this is the power of experience and the ecosystem that SAP has, right? So this is truly that something's never been done before, and I don't know if it's ever going to be done again, right? Just the scale of it, simply put. But it just shows you when you have a solid team behind you, when you make that decision, right, to take on a significant project like this, and just so happens that 3 of your peers decide to do the same thing, we can still support that. And by the way, it was all done 100% remote, of course.
I think I'm envisioning S's on all your guys' chests right now. I was fortunate to be involved in the Washington Gas SAP project, and I remember the great support SAP as the software company gave to that client during the go live. I can't imagine what you just told me. That's unbelievably amazing. Congratulations! That's a big win.
Thank you.
I'm sure those clients are very happy. And anything else on the customer success?
I think there are just so many different stories in our mid-sized space as well. But I think this is the one that really stands out. It's pretty big, unparalleled to anything else. Yeah. But just from a cloud perspective, we've seen the shift, right? We've seen the shift happen over the last couple of years. Now it's truly there. It's very, very rare that we have customers asking about on-premise solutions. So it's truly ability to deliver in the cloud is the key now.
I so agree. We're just seeing more and more utilities that are no longer, they're still asking questions. They're still a little nervous about cybersecurity and who owns my data, but right. They're over those objections now and saying, let's focus on the value we receive. So I'm glad to hear you're seeing the same thing. We're in an emerging market, lots going on. What a year we've had. It sure seems that the whole COVID situation has changed people's thoughts on technology and a lot of different things in regards to business. What developments do you see happening in the next 10 years from a utility market perspective?
Yeah, I'm really excited about where the industry is going, to be honest with you. I think we've seen a lot of changes over the last decade. We've seen cloud take off. We've seen utility exploring outside of the core competencies with products and services. We've seen some regulatory changes, but I think the next 10 years really will be more dramatic change. Especially for electric utilities, I think we have to talk about EVs. I mean, when you think about it, it's still small fraction, all right, of cars on the streets are EVs, but it's changing. It's changing pretty dramatically. So, and I'm an EV owner as well, and I know that I would not buy another gas car for my daily driver again. And I know vast majority, based on research of people who have EVs, they feel the same way. So it's a massive opportunity for utilities, and it's not an optional opportunity, right? It's something that's just happening. So we've seen utilities invest in DC fast charging, which is absolutely needed. Right now, it's still a bit of a mess out there. And I think, we saw an announcement from Duke, Dominion Energy, 6 big ones that got together and are building a DC fast charging infrastructure. I think it's a tip of an iceberg, to be honest with you. So this is something that it also gets out of the core competencies of the utilities as well, because now you're dealing with users and customers that are not your traditional customers, right? They may be passing through. You also have V2G, so vehicle to grid, which is starting to get some steam. And that potentially introduces a whole level of additional complexities for our utility customers. So if you think about V2G from a at home perspective, that's one thing. But now you think about the whole ecosystem where you may have people doing that at their jobs, at the offices, hotels, wherever they may spend more than a couple of hours, and the complexity level just goes through the roof. So this is not something that's relevant to IOUs, large IOUs only, right? This is something that's impacting municipalities as well. So on the one hand, it is really exciting. On the other hand, you can't sleep on it. You have to address it now if you're a utility, and you have to start thinking, what solutions do I need to put in place to be able to, deliver and meet the demand? So I think when I think about kind of the mid-sized space, the municipalities I mentioned, I think it's a huge opportunity, right? EV owners like DC fast charging, so they will bring in business as well. So your small businesses will probably encourage the investment as well. So this is just one of the examples, but I think it's going to be a really important one going forward in the next decade.
That's such an interesting topic, and look forward to learning more about what SAP is doing in that space. We're actually going to have at the summit a couple of sessions where utilities are building out EV technology in their communities. So I'll make sure to point you in that session's direction.
Right.
Give me a little more information about, you talked about what you think the market's going, maybe a little more specifics, and where do you see SAP in 10 years as a business?
Yeah, so I think we've dedicated, right, to serving utilities over the last 30 plus years, and it's not going to change, right? So we are going to be continue to invest in that space. And the space is evolving as we talked about. So we're doing exactly the same thing. So the example I just gave you around EVs is one of the examples, and SAP will play a major role in that space that it's changing. So we are investing heavily in the industry kind of thought leadership, as well as solution capabilities to address all of these needs, right? And some of the needs we don't know yet. So that's the tricky part, that we are taking the industry leadership, thought leadership into consideration as we're building stuff out that we don't really know how it's going to shake out. I think if I were to look at a crystal ball, I would say that in the future, I think the boundaries between industries will continue to blur more and more. So SAP services 26 different industries, utilities being one of them. And I think that will be the advantage that our customers will have as those boundaries between industries will continue to blur. The example with EVs and V2G is one of those examples where all of a sudden you are one utility one day, but you're becoming, future gas station next day, right? So I think our ability outside of the utility industry will come in handy for our customers in utilities. In terms of cloud, obviously, we will continue to involve and invest. Over the years, we've strategically built solutions in the cloud, and we've also acquired solutions in the cloud that service our utility customers, right? And having said that, we will continue to invest in our on-prem as well in the cloud solutions for utilities specifically, because on-premise is not going away overnight, right? It will remain to be present for a lot of our utilities out there. So it's not, one or nothing. It's definitely something that for the time being, we're obviously investing in both.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And thank you for spending some time with us today, and look forward to seeing you around the virtual hall this coming weeks. Absolutely. And thank you so much for being with us. And you've been watching In Conversation.
Thank you so much, Rick.